It's literally, it's literally Z. Peace, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Literally Z. I'm your host, Z, literally, and I have been on not a full sabbatical, but somewhat of a sabbatical. Just so much going on in my life that I really wanted to podcast, but I also needed to make sure I was attending to my own physical health, like my wellness. And also just work stuff. It's been just very stressful. I don't think I've gotten into for real just everything that has happened in 2025 due to this president and these grant terminations and the way it has really shook up academia. I feel like I remember saying that. So now that I think about it, yes, I have at least a little bit. But just kind of dealing with those shakeups, the reverberating issues and feedback that has happened from there. Sorry, my dog is right beside me, so I feel like he's like shaking the camera because he's shaking not shaking my legs, but he's like adjusting himself, but just shaking my legs, but just shaking the computer. So it's all shaking. But anyway, there's been a lot going on over the past couple of weeks, and I have not recorded anything in the past couple of weeks. Also, I took like about a week off from posting anything, which is also something I have not really done since I've started this journey. I've been very consistent posting, even like vacationing or conferencing. I was still pretty consistently posting, even if I wasn't necessarily getting an episode out, things like that. So, yeah, I'm overall back. I'm also doing some endeavors to make some extra money, some extra coins, try to just make up things that have been lost because of the grant terminations. And so that's how life has been. I also wanted to record this. This is not going to be a full episode, what I'm doing right this second. I also wanted to record this because this is before I do my dissertation proposal defense and my doctoral board oral exam. And I wanted it to be authentic because when I actually have time to record a full episode will probably be next week. But by that point, I would have already done the presentation and therefore could say, I felt this, I felt that. But at that point, I'll either be really happy because I passed. So all those feelings, I'm a kind of downplay them. Or it'll be like an intense sadness and just fatigue because I have so many extra things to do to try to fix it. So I wanted to give you more of a authentic expression of how I'm feeling right now with everything in the process. So I finished my slides. The slides are ready. I have done kind of a rough go through today. From that, I've made some revisions and edits, just like formatting things the way it looked. Some things were ordered incorrectly, which makes sense because when I was doing it, I was so tired and so nauseous that I was like, I gotta get this done, but also I don't feel my best, so I'm not surprised that the product was just not the best. But overall, it still was pretty good. It was still pretty good. And so I've done some additional revisions. I want to continue practicing it this weekend to get ready for that exam. But overall, I don't feel super nervous. Not like I just feel like I got it, but I like feedback. I'm excited for their feedback. And also, I'm just of the mindset that this is not me defending my life's work. I've not done the project yet. All I'm doing is saying this is what I want to do. What do y'all think? What's your feedback so I can make sure this is the best project it can be? I don't see how that could ever be a bad thing. Whatever feedback they give me, be it a little, be it a lot, will overall make the project a lot better. So overall, I'm still really excited for it. And I think I feel decently positive about the experience as well. Yeah. I also want to go ahead and make the recruitment flyer. Like, I want to make all the materials so that if they say yes, all I got to do is add some stuff to the IRB, the website, and we in there. We in there. Only reason why I haven't started yet is I don't want to be presumptuous. I don't want to be presumptuous. You know what I'm saying? But I'm hoping that things go well. And so this is not like, this would not come as a surprise to them because in the document I gave them with my actual proposal, so my first 3 chapters, which was my introduction chapter, my literature review chapter, so introduction in general was me kind of summarizing what I want the project to be, a little bit about why it matters, how I'm going to engage with the work, things like that. Then the literature review synthesizes mountains upon hills upon mountains of literature, research, all the different things that give nuance to the topic, inform the topic, guide the topic, all the things. So literature review chapter, and then my methods chapter, which goes over how I plan to actually do the project. So the method I would do, I'm proposing a critical phenomenological project with a Bell Hooksian approach, which I think I mentioned the Bell Hooksian approach in a different podcast. So I can go back over it, and I will go back again. This is just like a quick overview before I actually do the thing. I feel like because the slides are not finalized, I would rather give y'all my full proposal after I finish my slides and things. I just want to give voice to how I'm feeling authentically before I do it. You know what I'm saying? I want to give voice to how I'm feeling, but I'm not going to fully go through everything now just because it's still not super in the works because, again, I already turned in materials and things like that. But there's still certain things in the works, and I want to make sure I'm putting my time toward that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to spend too much time on the podcast right now, but I definitely want to take time to really break down how it went for me and all those things, and break down a little bit more about what I plan to do, the recruitment aspects, the money I will be offering prayerfully. Let me not speak on that, but prayerfully folks are not enemies of my progress, and the money comes through like it should, you know what I'm saying? So again, I gotta hold on to that, but hopefully later on in this episode, as in the next week after I do this exam, I'll be giving good news about that. Prayerfully. Yes. So overall feeling good, overall excited to get it here and gone. Ready for the feedback. I can't say super excited for the feedback because I know I've put so much into it that it's easy for feedback to end up feeling personal. Usually it doesn't for me, but also I've never done a PhD before, never done a dissertation before. So I can't say, oh, I just always love feedback. This is going to feel great. It might not feel as good because this is more of a project that I put a lot of myself into and is really tied to my identity and my experience in teaching, things like that. So there's very much so room for me to kind of take the feedback a little bit more personally this time. I want to be honest about that as well. That's something, after it's over, prayerfully it goes well, I wouldn't even say to you because it would be over with. But yeah, I do feel that this time around feedback might feel different because it's going to be wow, I'm gonna have to kind of separate myself from this is the work I want to do and I want it to be the best work possible. So I need to be receptive to their feedback, even if you don't take up, because it's going to be 5 different professors giving me feedback. They might have conflicting feedback. One person might say, I need you to add more of this. The other person say, actually, I hated that part. Take that stuff out, So it just, I don't want to get into a people pleasing mode where everything they say I just take into the project. I definitely don't want to do that, but I'm definitely receptive to everything that they're going to say and overall excited for how great I think the project will ultimately be. So that's how I feel so far. Definitely also a little bit better than I felt at the start of this week. Today is, just for reference, Wednesday, and I started to get a bit of anxiety yesterday and Monday about the fact that I've not really worked on these slides yet. The exam is on Tuesday. We have a holiday weekend coming up for me. So this is leading up to Memorial Day is when I'm recording this right now. And I'm going to be at a wedding. My line sister's getting married. Yay! So excited for her. Yay! The timing is but I'm very excited for her. So I just know I won't have a lot of time to dedicate to it over the weekend because I want to be present for the wedding. Otherwise I should have just stayed home. I don't want to be, I got to run and go, I want to be present. So I kind of started getting nervous Monday, Tuesday, you need to get on this practicing stuff because you're not going to have a lot of time this weekend. But I also come home decently early on Monday. Now I might end up doing something. Let me not say I'm not going to do something. But also, I'm encouraging the fact that this is my own work. So I do, mine is obviously the literature review stuff. It's what other people have said about this topic. But overall, I've done a lot of study of this work. I've written and revised again and again on this work. So even if it's not perfect, even if there are certain things that I want to say that I don't, or that I say that I didn't really practice, and so I'm not sure how it's going to land, I think overall it should go well. And I just want to end with that positivity. So I'm about to get back to it. I heard my laundry going off, and it's just like some ding, 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 dinging. So there's some different things I need to attend to, but overall, I feel good about it. And I also want to update y'all on my summer job. And it's a nonprofit organization, so I'm not surprised they had to change language because anybody who is getting federal funds is trying to keep their federal funds at this point, and they've seen how the federal funds are being stripped away, so they're trying to be as proactive as possible to change language and to kind of stay within the realms of this new administration. But it has also been kind of just demoralizing a bit to do some of this pre-work and the training and the rehearsals and the sessions toward this job. It's my fourth year doing the job, but it doesn't feel the same. The words are not the same. The context is not the same. Although it's still in theory pushing toward the same thing, the way they've softened the language, like the pre-service teachers that are going to be engaged in this work are going to be very cognizant of the fact that we are dancing around topics of race. We're dancing around topics of equity. We're dancing around topics of diversity. Like the fact that they exchange pretty much every mention of diversity and equity with da 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 for all, it gives very all lives matter. Like, I don't want to say it. And I've already decided for myself that as I move through this job this time around, I will be conscious to make sure the slides present visibly as they need to for the organization to continue having its fun so it can carry out its work. But as for me and what I say out of my mouth, it will not be those words. I just cannot present and share words that I do not believe in. And if that costs me this job that I've had for 4 years, so be it. Like I've also gotten my LLC approved. So I'm gonna be doing some stuff. I think I mentioned a little bit a few minutes ago. I'm gonna be doing some stuff with that. So not saying that LLC gonna make up for, the money I would make there, but prayerfully if this lemonade sale goes well at the top of June, then we can get either invited to some other festivals and events or also just apply to be vendors at these other events that we see, pop up over the summer because it's summertime. So it's time to make money. So overall, it'll be covered some kind of way. I just have to believe in that. But I don't think, despite living in a capitalist society, despite inflation, despite what I know is going on with folks in these hiring spaces, in these funding spaces, trying to hold on to their monies while Trump is just coming through and just taking. I don't want, while he's doing all that taking, to take my soul, to take my, it's really just to take my soul. Like, I can't relinquish that to them. So I'd rather hold on to that and maybe be a little broke than to feel this demoralized continuing and moving through my last year of doctoral studies. So that's a little bit of an update for me. I'm so sorry it's been so long. For those who be enjoying these updates and enjoying these podcasts, I really appreciate all the love that folks have shown me from them. And I'm excited to get back to the content. Again, after my exam is over, I'll be checking back in with y'all, letting y'all know how the exam goes as close to right after as possible. Okay. And then after I do that, all right, I will be doing a follow-up. I have a published article now. That's new. I haven't told y'all. Ooh, that ambulance. Okay, must be passing right by. It's loud, right? I don't know if y'all can hear it as loud as I could hear it. That was loud. Anyway, I don't even think I've told you about that yet. I have a published article. And so I do plan to go over the article with you all, the process to get it written, and just like a lot of the big highlights of the article as well. So that will be this episode. That's what we're gonna get to right after I finish with my dissertation proposal stuff. And we'll get into that. And yeah, thank you for sticking with me. Sorry for the delay. And excited to get back to it. So see you in a bit. Okay, peace, everyone. I'm nervous. I'm anxious more than anything. This is not after. This is before. I'm wearing my Audacity shirt because I feel like I need to have some audacity today. I'm also wearing these earrings because they kind of mimic the Maryland flag, and I'll be working with local teachers, so why not? Number one nervousness, I think, is the fact that I'm going in person to be present. Sorry, I'm just nervous twitches. Y'all never see me fixing on my hair, do you? Exactly. And I wasn't even looking at the camera. Like, I literally just started picking at it. So sorry. But anyway, I'm going in person. I'm pretty sure I'll be the only person in person, so my committee will be online, which is fine. And then also the administrative assistant is under the weather, so she won't be in person, which was kind of gonna be nice because she's a really supportive person. So I was like, okay, happy to see her in the space. She'll be like smiling and just like, yeah, like, she's not judging nothing, but she won't be there. So kind of just be focusing on here. And it's also, I think I like the idea of the people being in person because I, again, I never pull in my hair like that. Anyway, be in person because it would give me a reason to kind of look up away from the computer and make eye contact with people and like engage with those social cues or whatever. And I won't have that. I feel like when you're online presenting, sometimes you're met with just like blank stares. I know because I'm one of them blank stares, and I really try not to do that to people. Whenever I'm like conscious of it, I try to be like, okay, like smile, nod, people like please don't scare the people, don't scare the hoes. So I'm kind of in anticipation of that, where I'm not gonna really see how they're taking in the work, and I'm also gonna be conscious of obviously my time, but I've practiced it a few times and been under time. I practiced more just a couple times, but I'm just saying, especially the last few times I practiced, I've definitely been under time, and that's with a little bit of rushing speak. So I'm also conscious of the fact that I need to make sure I'm slowing down and taking my breaths so that I'm not rushing through everything. But yes, I do my defense for my dissertation proposal in a few hours, in like 2.5 hours. I'm gonna head there in the next hour-ish. Let me actually check. Y'all gonna get live in person. How far or how long it's gonna take me to get there. Um, I'm just very, again, just in a lot of anticipation. I feel like about getting there. I don't know. I think it's also because I don't really know what to expect. I hate that they do things like that where you're not really sure. It's only saying 16 minutes, so there's no like big rush to get up and go there yet. But I feel like because it's a closed door thing, I don't really know what to expect. And part of it is called an exam. So my doctoral board oral exam, it's a mouthful every time I try to say it. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what it entails. I I assume they're very intense questions about my work and my thought process and what I plan to do, but I also feel, obviously, I know I couldn't have thought of everything, but when I tell y'all, like, the amount of hours and preparatory work that has gone into this proposal to get stumped, I think it would kind of, not even bruise my ego because it wouldn't be ego, it would be like stress. It would be, why not think of that? Like, oh. So I'm very in anticipation about everything right now is the moral of the story. I'm gonna go over a few things with y'all just because might as well. I'm here with you. I think to start, I'm setting the stage. I'm doing my positionality. I'm really excited about this slide. I feel like it doesn't really transition into the project super well, but uh, it's there and it has, pictures of me growing up and stuff. So it's very sentimental. But I start with that slide, then I move into my statement of the problem. And I can go through some information with you all as just part of my practice. So Black teachers work to advance racial uplift and activism supports. I already said that wrong. What is going on? Okay. Black teachers work to advance racial uplift and activism, supports Black communities, and yet, girl, why I'm forgetting that this is not in presenter mode. I pushed spacebar instead of pushing the down arrow, which again, when I actually present, won't be a problem because spacebar would work because I would actually be on presentation mode. But just like any little extra thing that's not working right now is kind of stressing me out. And it's like emails ding 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 dinging, And it's too much. Okay. Back centered. All right. And yet, this resistance compromises their job security and personal safety. Thirdly, Black teachers outperform their white colleagues in effective pedagogy, and yet their well-being takes a toll and they are pushed out of classrooms at double the rate of their white colleagues due to systemic racism, isolation, and exploitative working conditions. So the goal ultimately would be to dismantle the systemic challenges that plague Black teachers. However, we are in a time where we are seeing about 20 harmful executive orders and counting in this presidential term, and we need something to help us persist during these precarious times. Research shows us that Black teachers need support and care that attends to their well-being as well, and so I'm aiming to do that through effective kinship. In the literature, this is typically taken up with relationships between teachers and students, such as other mothering and other fathering, and rarely discusses the kinship among teachers. Moreover, this research predates 2020, which means it's missing in the exploration of how fictive kinship can join with our modern day situations to potentially sustain Black teachers. I did kind of remix the speaker note for that right there. uh, I go through the purpose next, the research question. For literature review, synthesizing the literature, that his guide to the project. I go through this timeline. At first, when I had the full timeline, that thing took me so long to get through. I was like, this must be cut down. So now instead of going through the timeline, I say this little blurb of this is a combined timeline from the section on the history of Black educators as well as the beginning to the section on intersectionality, where I discussed American education more broadly. I'm going to be moving through the timeline pretty quickly, but some things of note is the fact that in the 1700s, we have American education beginning as a white male dominated teaching force. And then when we move to urbanization in the 1800s, they lean on and transfer their power in the classroom to white unmarried women. And there were quotation marks for those who are listening to the audio. For transition of power, there were quotation marks. Okay. To white unmarried women with urbanization in the 19th century. A huge note as well for this timeline is that Black teaching has resisted oppressive laws as well as anti-Black attacks throughout the timeline. And so from there, I would then go through the timeline pretty quickly, somewhat voicing over the aspects, but not really getting into the nitty-gritty. But I have the nitty-gritty written out for them in case that was asked of me. And then in 1954, I pause. So I mentioned this fact about 600 Black schools being burned in the South between Reconstruction and desegregation. But I'm going to pause and want to hone in more on Black teachers pre-Brown. And so with that, I sum up Black teachers pre-Brown as being empowering advocates. They are empowering in the sense that they nurtured holistic empowerment for the community, but via services and resources that they provide to families beyond academics, which really created was really centralized Black schools as a space for growth and care for the Black community pre-Brown. I'm really trying not to look at the speaker notes basically, but I'm also like already just even doing this little practice for y'all. I'm just, number one, I feel like I haven't really fully gone through my research in this platform space before. So I want to be more polished, but I'm also literally doing this because I'm trying to get the nerves out. And I feel like this is the biggest mock of me presenting to an audience. Like, this might reach the typical 2-3 people who listen to my podcast, which is fine. But the 2-3 people that are going to listen to this and kind of get a taste of what the project is still more than me just kind of sitting in my apartment by myself, frantically going over the slides and not really getting any type of feedback or feel that it's reaching somebody. So please excuse the nerves, but I need to get the nervous energy out now via this platform. And then obviously, I'm gonna be coming back after I finish the thing as well to let y'all know how it went. And prayerfully it goes well, and I'll be able to be like, girl, I breezed through that thing. I didn't read none of the notes. I added a whole lot of extra tidbits. They said that I just knocked it out the park. They barely had any questions, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's probably what I'm going to say after. Because also in general, this another little sidebar, I mentioned, presenting as an introvert as well, like doing conferences as an introvert. So as an introvert in general, again, I'm not going up to people. I'm not really like outgoing in that way. But in those types of spaces, when it's time to present, that smile kicks on, the teacher voice gets activated, and I'm very excited about the work I'm typically doing, the work I'm presenting on. So it shows in the presentation, and it's very dynamic and all the different things. So I got it. I could put it on. This is that preview. And that's also why I was just kind of like about it being virtual, because I do virtual sessions every summer. This is my fourth summer doing it. And so that's literally a virtual space. So I know it's gonna be virtual. And so I know I'm not gonna really get a lot of feedback from them. But I also am I think so, oh my God. I just got another encouraging message about it. Thank you. Thank you to my supporters. Thank y'all. I appreciate my friends and family so much. But yes, when it's time to put on, I'll put on. Like when it's showtime, it's showtime. But I feel like before it's showtime, and this is not, this can't be showtime, because then God forbid if this showtime and then I mess up the real showtime, I'm gonna have to be like, y'all, I know that this presentation was rocky, but if you just go listen to this podcast, then you'll hear that it was really polished a few hours before. Like I can't do that. Okay, but we're getting back to it. Sorry for all the sidebars. Again, this is just, I'm ranting all my nervous energy out to y'all right now. You are in the thick of it with me. This is really what this podcast is all about. I literally was doing a voice note. I was like, you know what I need to do? Like, I need to record this for my podcast. I need to practice for the podcast. I need to like just kind of get all these thoughts out here, because this is what I said I was doing before anyway, right? To just be very transparent about the process. I feel that it's like, I know plenty of people who've done their dissertation proposal, but I felt weird about asking them. I don't know. Because it be seeming secret squirrel. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it, but at this institution specifically, it's kind of closed door. Like they don't invite other students or faculty, family, anything like that to attend. And so I must assume that that's for a reason. At the institution I was at prior to the current one, it wasn't closed door. People attended. And so even as I'm saying, like I've seen plenty of people do it at other institutions, like every school is different, so I almost don't even want to pull on anybody I know who's done it at a different school, because your experience is probably not the experience here anyway. Anybody who did it here, again, it was closed off. So I'm like, well, it's probably closed for a reason. So how much can they really tell me? And yeah, yeah. So I think a lot of the nervousness is just not knowing what this entails. Overall, I'm assuming the format will be that I get about 20 minutes to present my work. Well, they'll like deliberate beforehand. I get 20 minutes to present my work. Already tongue tied. I get 20 minutes to present my work. And then from there, we will move into questions and interrogation of me. I am suspect number one. Getting back to the slide though. So that was just a little side rant of, yeah. Getting back to the slide, so as advocates, Black teachers pre-Brown were frontline community activists in the fight for educational equality as well as equality overall within the civil rights movement, especially. Then I have two slides that are hidden for the main slides, but because I'm, again, not in presenter view, I just tapped through them. So that was the pause there. Then it brings me back to the timeline slides, and so now we're after 1954. And talk about the fact that approximately 100,000 Black schools were closed, approximately 100,000 Black teachers and principals were fired, Black children were bused into unwelcoming white schools, and it systematically stifled Black families' ability to exercise choice in their children's education, overall decentralizing the Black community from their education, which adds to the debt that we see today, the education debt specifically. And understanding the experience of Black teachers is not monolithic, and so these things I'm saying about Black teachers kind of in a broad sense have some nuance to them. We're going to transition to intersectionality. Ooh, I like the way I said that. We're going to write it down, because that was not in the script. So we're going to write that down. So the experience of Black teachers is not monolithic. Adding to the debt. Via this timeline, I have discussed Black teachers in a general sense. However, the experience, however, we'll just say Black teachers. We'll say Black teachers' experiences are not monolithic. So with that, we transition to intersectionality. Now again, the notes are really just there for, I like the way I said that. Let's see if I can repeat that. You know? And that's also why I try to practice as much as I do. And this is also why it's really nice that I'm recording this version of my practice. Typically, when I'm practicing, I might be on the phone with somebody, I might be practicing in person, but I'm not recording the practice. So I can't really go back to be like, oh, what did I say? I like that. What did I say? Oh, I don't know what I said. Oh, did you remember what I said? Oh, God. And so now at least I have a recording of it too. So this, I should have been doing this, but um, I would have had to do a whole lot of cutting in because ain't no way y'all want to hear my presentation as many times as I had to present it. So yeah, I would have to do a whole lot of cutting it and snipping and cutting. So then moving into the intersectionality section, I begin by saying that intersectionality rejects the white supremacist tendency to essentialize people on the margins of identity to a monolithic, homogeneous experience. And this is really telling in my use of the term Black women as one word. This comes from Cheryl Harris's Whiteness is Property piece from 1993, where she used that term to clearly reflect the union between Black and woman as a unique identity where neither aspect is primary nor subordinate to the other, which was heavily influenced by the work of Kimberly Crenshaw on intersectionality. This is also reflected in my use of the term Black queer as one word and Black men as one word to again emphasize the intersectionality of these identities. Did I not eat that? And I wasn't reading it. Yes. Yes. All right. Great practice, y'all. Great practice. We're doing it. All right. Now, starting with Black queer teachers. Black queer teachers experience schools as clogged spaces, wherein they face heightened risk of discrimination and workplace violence compared to their white queer colleagues. Moreover, threats to health and job security come in both silently understood threats as well as directly spoken threats from manifestations of anti-Blackness as well as homophobia. Additionally, the protections against such discrimination were not set until 2020 and have been rolled back since then in 2025. Now, this account of Black queer teachers is more than likely incomplete because they're understudied. Black queer teachers fall into an intersectional void where they're invisible both in the extensive research on Black teachers and that of queer teachers. This absence in the literature is mirrored in their own experiences within the schools where they are hyper visible as gendered racialized bodies and silenced as queer educators. Moving to Black women, there are a myriad of stereotypes that influence their experience in education. So, number one, we have the mammy stereotype, which depicts Black women as pleasantly docile, prioritizing the needs of others above their own. And this really maintains a servant served dynamic with white women who happen to predominate the teaching force. And because of the mammy stereotype, there are expectations on Black women teachers to be compliant and also do a lot of extra labor without support. Next, we have the angry Black woman stereotype and the strong Black woman stereotype, which depict Black women as assertive, aggressive, hostile, independent, uncooperative. And oftentimes, these biases about Black women are masked behind coded language like being team players to justify unreasonable demands, which ultimately leads to the push out of Black women teachers. And then lastly, for my discussion of Black women teachers, I will discuss other mothers, which is that maternal care for students. In the literature, this is acknowledged as a commitment to racial uplift and student well-being, but we also must acknowledge the emotional taxation of this work that can often overshadow and harm their well-being. Then for Black men, they first have the stereotype, the gendered racial stereotype of masculine lack, which depicts them as infantile and silly. And this is really designed to oh my goodness. This is really designed to keep Black men subordinate for fear of the opposite, which would be masculine excess, which is depicting Black men as dangerous and hypermasculine, and oftentimes is the reason why Black men teachers are relied upon to be disciplinarians for minoritized students disproportionately, and also for them to perpetuate toxic masculinity. A form of toxic masculinity would be the cool pose, which is where they suppress emotions. It can be damaging to the health of Black men and Black boys because it promotes stigma around help seeking, which leaves them to suffer, to have emotional suffering without support or resources. And then I have this, okay. Okay, so this is a new, so the last time I practiced, I had this sentence and I said it and I didn't have it written down and I was like, ooh, that was good. So I wrote it down. Just explanation for why I was like, where did this come from? I was like, I remember this from my last time I practiced. I wrote it down after the practice. Cool. Just like what I just did with y'all like a few minutes ago. All right. Many Black teachers persist despite these intersectional challenges to do work that positively impacts education in their communities. So, with that work and impact, this is coming from a collective commitment to racial uplift, Black joy, and pride that promotes justice, healing, and achievement. In a recent study, we have found that Black students assigned to Black teachers reported an increased self-efficacy and engagement. They have decreased chronic absenteeism. They increase reading and math test scores for all students. They increase the likelihood that Black students are enrolling in rigorous math classes. And also, this impact follows them through school because they increase the likelihood that they graduate high school as well as they enroll in college. And a big contributor to that is the fact that Black teachers exhibit more good teaching practices than their white peers. Now, what is good teaching? The literature says that good teaching is establishing caring relationships with students and families that add a sense of community to the learning environment, to where you're surpassing just merely educating the mind and applying an understanding of historical, social, economic, and political contexts that impact Black people to your practice. Those like different things, I find the historical, social, economic, political. A down. All right. At what cost? The time and energy needed for this caring labor typically goes unrewarded in teacher evaluations. It's extra work that is not covered in teacher education programs, and it follows the stereotypes that were discussed previously, especially those about Black people being superhuman, in that it's asking and requiring, expecting extra work and labor from Black teachers without any support. Ultimately, this leads to Black teacher attrition, the unrealistic anti-Black expectations. And so I then move into this discussion of a financial component. I've been back and forth about this part, like not keeping it in. It's more so just like I need it in there because it was feedback I got during the revising stage. So I know it's requested of me, but I feel like it's an awkward jump from like emotional stuff to financial, but also, again, having been a Black woman teacher, I know that the financial aspect is there, it's real. And what I'm going to say about it is also warranted and real and things like that. So I know I know there's a place for that in there, right? But I'm still a little about it. I'm still a little about it. So yeah, just letting y'all know that. So I might end up going back and forth to kind of tweak this a little bit. But nevertheless, as it currently stands, so in addition to the tolls that I've covered thus far, there's also a financial component. So first off, majority of Black teachers in private and public schools spend personal funds to supply their classrooms without reimbursement. Moreover, in general, teachers of color spend more money out of pocket than white teachers. Also, 49% of teachers work at least one additional job to make ends meet. And the requests on Donors Choose have increased by 110% since 2020 for teachers as well. And so overall, these stats are very specific to classroom supplies, and they fail to consider the additional cost for Black teachers' engagement and support of families and communities outside the classroom. This comes into driving into the neighborhood, the community for games or other different types of performances and things that the kids might be involved in, as well as sending them home with snacks, different things like that. And so again, the ultimate goal would be to dismantle all these systemic challenges that are plaguing Black teachers. And since we cannot quite do that just yet, we're leaning on a historical practice to support their sustenance. And that, for me, is fictive kinship. This emerges as a fugitive response to anti-Blackness and oppression. And then I kind of go into more context about fictive kinship. And I go into a little bit more context about my purpose. And then I get to my methods section. My method section, I feel pretty good about this. This first slide goes over, so first, phenomenology in and of itself explores the phenomena of human experience. Critical phenomenology resists and expands traditional phenomenology by uncovering social structures, historical context, and material conditions. Oh, I need to add citations to this area. Van Manen. What's the year of his piece? So that's something I like literally am just not noticing. Like I have not noticed that. Every time I've gone over these slides, I've not noticed that. Now, is this like a major issue? Technically not. But God forbid, like again, God forbid that they look down and be like, that's your only citations for that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I don't know what's gonna be important. So I'm just like looking at this slide, like, hold on, wait a minute, hold on. I have more citations for this. Wait. Let me not be caught slipping. Hold on. Yeah. Well cited. Thank you. Cause you just like I don't know. I'm about to say you never know. You might know. You might be listening. because you already have your PhD. I love that. I don't. So I'm just like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to be preparing for. So I'm just preparing for everything. So I just fixed that. Thank you. All right. And then the fact that critical phenomenology, and I also thought about it because I was like, ooh, these definitions come from different spaces and different like aspects of the research. So I only had citations for the critical phenomenology piece, and I think that's because I adjusted these slides, and initially it just did cover critical phenomenology, and I forgot to add the other citations. So we have them added now. This is such an informational podcast. Like, this will be of no interest if you do not care about like doctoralness, because that's all I'm covering right now. I'm not just giving information to educate the folks. I'm being very specific to this is my process for trying to do this proposal. Critical phenomenology resists and expands traditional phenomenology by uncovering the social structures, historical context, and material conditions of our experiences. And then adding the Hooksian approach extends critical phenomenology to center the love and humanity of Black people. And so with that, my project emphasizes love and care as foundational elements for qualitative inquiry into fictive kinship. I fixed the citations there. This feels good. This looks good. Looks good. Commitment to intentional and reciprocal engagement with research partners. Love is revolutionary. Collective self-care practices and activities. I think I don't like the way this is worded. I feel like I've thought that for a while. I think I have it worded this way because visually it takes up a nice bit of space, but um communality in the front porch conversations. I think that keeps the same spacing I liked, but seems less redundant. So we like that. Let me change it here as well. Let me change it here as well. Okay. The spicing is still cute. It's still cute. It's still cute. It's still cute. I know y'all can't see it, but it's still cute. It's still cute. All right. Preliminary activities. This slide also, I think I might take it out. I think I'm gonna hide it. Yeah. I've kept it in the whole time. The reason why I feel like it just kind of feels out of play. Let me see. Hold on. I think it's because otherwise it would have needed to go before this section. So it would have needed to go, okay. And I've never practiced it up there, but I think it would need to go before I even do this part about the bell hooksian approach. It would need to go after the overview, which is where I was just going from phenomenology to critical phenomenology to hooksian critical phenomenology. I'm going to have to go here because I feel like otherwise it's just not making sense. Actually, why don't we just do it before even the overview? Because preliminary is like the earliest. I think that's what it is. Because in the paper itself, I think also I've had trouble with the fact that the way things were worded in the proposal and ordered in the proposal don't quite fit for the presentation. I think because in the presentation, obviously every word of the proposal is not in the presentation because I have 20 minutes. The ordering has had to shift a lot because you don't have the benefit of like pretty sections and chapters to clearly delineate between things. Like I needed to flow a bit differently. So I think this is again, thank you podcast. Thank you podcast. I think this is much better placement because I feel like this has also been kind of tripping me up. So I'm going to say the mapping of the proposed methods. Really quickly, I want to first overview some of the preliminary activities that I conducted prior to even getting to this point of the proposal. And so I can highlight those there. Then get into the overview. I like this. I like this a lot better. Then get into the overview. And then from the approach, I do the research activities, which makes perfect sense. This is flowing nicely as well. And then the methodological plan. So with this aspect, I'm kind of overviewing it more than like getting into the nitty-gritty of it as well. So this all is looking good. One aspect here that I feel like sometimes I'm moving too fast and I be skipping over. Let me like find it real quick. I think this message needs to be moved. Yeah. Mm, no, I think it works here. It's just then I need to like make sure I say it because I feel like a few times I've not said it when I'm supposed to say it when I practice, and I was like, oh, I meant to mention that, but it's literally written here, so that's why it's written here. So I need to just kind of make sure that I'm not focused on the speaker notes, but every now and then I need to glance down to make sure that I like have hit the points because that's the whole reason for them being there. So give myself grace. Okay, and then that one, this looks good. This looks good. Yes, 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 yes. Yes! The flyer. Research partners needed. Recruitment. Yes, yes, yes. Um, I think the flyer looks cute as well, if I do say so myself. And then I have that boom skis. And then we move to this. This kind of like a throwaway slide. Like my advisor just like, basically she said if you really feel like you need it, put it in the presentation, but I don't think you need it in the paper, which I agree with. Once I took it out, it made sense. Like I feel like it was kind of I was stretching myself to keep it in the paper, in the proposal. So I feel like it fits better here. It's still not necessary here, but I'll go ahead and go over it. Just I think I'll have the time to as well because I feel like I just cut something else out, didn't I, while I was talking to y'all, or I moved something else. So whichever the case, like I think I have definitely enough time to keep it in because I practice with it in. So that's it. Okay. Deep breaths. Okay. Overall, I feel a bit better. I'm now down to about 2 hours total. So we knocked out a smooth 30 minutes of preparatory work. I'm now going to stop preparing until it's time. I don't think I want to look at the slides again until I'm actually in the space and therefore setting up and looking at the slides. I don't think I should look at the slides before then. But this just felt really good. I appreciate you for listening and for encouraging me virtually at this time, and I'm excited to get back to y'all. And again, whatever the news is, I'm excited to get to this stage, to go through this aspect, this part of the stage, and to be working toward whatever my next steps are. Because at the end of the day, whether they want me to revise a whole lot of stuff, they hate it, they want me to throw it away, like whatever the verdict is, there will be some next steps for me, and so I have some direction about where I'm going, and that's all I can ask for. So see y'all soon. Peace. My third time trying this. Let's pray that it records. Let's pray that it's not glitchy. Let's pray that the sound is there. Please, all the things. Please, please, please. Okay. Peace, peace, everyone. Overall, I'm still very relaxed. I'm very happy because I did pass. I know I'm wearing the same earrings, but it is the next day. It is the next day. Okay. And it went really well. The feedback was really good. It's definitely going to push the work forward. So one of the big points of feedback, and again, because of the third time, it's going to be real snip, snip, snappy. Okay. But one of the points of feedback was just about like how will I be able to build community with them, and so that related to another bit of feedback about my positionality statement and how it just felt too surface. Which I had done a lot of proposals for funding around the same time I'm writing my proposal, like the real proposal. And so with that, in the proposals for funding, they often would cap your like bio or positionality to 2 pages max, but really like lean toward one. And so because of that, I kind of took that and felt that I should also limit it for this one, I guess. And so I kind of self-censored. Like no one else told me I had to do that. I just did. And I would have been more open to include more, but again, like I'm writing multiple versions of the proposal because it's going to different funders and I'm also doing the main one. And so I am recycling the things I'm writing because it's again all the same context, just slightly different questions, slightly different formats here, but overall it's all the same stuff. So that was good feedback, and I'll definitely add that in. Have done facilitation things that definitely would align with the work I'm going to be doing for the research activities. Put that in there. Okay. Then also I need to Sorry, my dog just like kind of is doing I don't even know what, and it definitely distracted me. Okay, so the second bit of feedback that was really good, again, all was good, but the second bit that I'm gonna highlight for this video is or podcast episode is I'm losing it. It's again like he started doing a lot, and I lost my train of thought, and now my train is off the tracks. It's about Is it about the theory? Boom. So if we recall, when I learned about the bell hooksing approach, it was right before I needed to turn step in for this, right? Like the timeline is very, very short, very short. Okay. And so I was able to really integrate it into the introduction. I was able to really integrate it into the methods, but I didn't really touch the literature review chapter. I did not really integrate it there. And so it was like, okay, it was like a sandwich where it's here, it's not there. So it's like boom, uh. And I completely agree. And I just was transparent about I appreciate that y'all liked it as much. I appreciate that y'all thought the methods was really fleshed out and you thought it was just a really great method and just, you really engaged with that work because that was a very last minute addition. That is not something I've been working with the whole time. That was very last minute, which is why you all have these questions and if we will, concerns about the literature chapter not really connecting with the theory. So that's another thing I'm going to be adding in. And in general, I'll be starting my research this summer. So I also submitted my protocol stuff to a professor who does a lot of work with the IRB, which is the Institutional Review Board, to make sure my stuff is ethical. And she also does work with like the grants and things like that. So just a really good resource to try to make sure that my stuff is on its P's and its Q's and it doesn't take too long for it to get approved. And then from there, I'll do pilot interviews, which is just kind of testing out my questions, making sure I'm getting the type of answers I'd be hoping to get. Not like forcing people into answers, but the depth of answers, because you don't want the question to be so closed off to where people can kind of be like, yeah, all right, next question. You don't want it to be like that. You want the questions to be thought provoking to where they might pause a second and give you a really in depth answer versus just like quick short bursts of answers. So I also am doing that. And relatedly, also in the dissertation proposal oral exam, they asked me about if I'm doing a research journal. And I have a written one as well. But as I've told you all, the podcast is kind of my living research journal. And so because y'all are my living research journal, I need to kind of keep up with that. And so the podcast over the next year and some change will definitely have a lot of elements of this is what's going on in the research process. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm negotiating these things. Like these are things that I have now changed because of this circumstance with that. And so you will get a lot of bursts of that. Some of them I record and not put onto the podcast, but just still record it in this type of video, audio way. But definitely a good chunk will make it to the podcast. And it doesn't mean the whole episode will be that because I don't think a whole episode is needed. Maybe like a little segment, might make a little jingle for it. And so we'll go into that segment and have a little jingle for that. And then I'll get into the main content of the podcast. Also, clearly I'm not going to be doing the paper in this one. I'm gonna let that its own episode because at this point the episode will be a little bit long if I then now transition to talk about my paper. So I'm gonna give you all a link to the paper so you can do a little pre-work and skim it and read it ahead, and then we'll do some further discussion on the next podcast episode. But I feel like I've now said everything. The last thing is I'm gonna include, if we want to call it bloopers, we can, but kind of the not aftermath because okay, so I did my presentation. I took in their questions and answered their questions, took in feedback. Then they go into a breakout room and talk about me behind my back. And then I'm just sitting waiting. And I'm commenting during that point. The Zoom is still recording during that point. So you all will be able to see kind of me just like, oh my God, what's taking so long? How many minutes have they been gone? Da, 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 da. So you'll be able to see some of that. I'll include some of that after I finish up with this. And then, okay, so then once that time period ended though, where I'm just sitting and like, in agony, waiting, after the agonizing wait, at that point they came back and were like, so very exciting, very happy. Yes, all those things. So I will see y'all next time. Thank you for sticking around. Hope you enjoy a little blooper thingy thing going on that's about to be popping off on the screen. And yeah, see you next time. I don't know the result. I just still feel calm. Like at least that part was over. 16 on time. As well. Oh, I can't stop smiling. I'm so happy that part is over with. Like, oh my god, words can't describe the feeling of relief. Literally. Whew. Like their feedback. It was really nice. Like good things to think about for sure. And really good point on the positionality. Like there are definitely a lot of things that I have in my experience to the point about like what you had on your resume versus what you say or what you've done versus what is on the resume. Excuse me. I burped a little bit during the session as well. It's not good. They have a new dean for the business schools. Mm. Mm. Are they still out there? I know it's been like 2 minutes since I started looking at the time though, but maybe three. I think it was 2:60 when I started looking. I thought this when they went in. Did not even read my speaker notes hotkey because when I was on the speaker note view, it wasn't changing the slides for them. So I like actually had to know what I was saying, which was kind of scary. But I don't think there was one thing I missed. I meant to say I didn't say, but then like Mariah brought it up. So I was like, okay, at least I wrote it in the paper. So it wasn't too bad that I didn't say it. But Like, I went back and forth a little bit with the speaker notes, but overall, I really couldn't do it because it wasn't advancing. Like, it literally was not advancing. I had to be on the like I had to just look at the presentation, so it forced me to to push my memory. There's someone there. New dean of the public health school. Okay. Oh, Keisha. Okay, black. Keisha. Okay. That's nice. Keisha. Help yourself. Also need to, instead of local, describe, I hate the word urban, urban city, um, approximate population makeup, approximate area of the United States, mid-Atlantic, yeah. So I need to add more context to that dissertation. I need to change that wording. This is still recording, yes? Praise God. Awesome. I need to change that. That functionality and then literature review, which I didn't test that myself. It's like at least to adapt and change. A lot easier to change my methods of instruction. Why is so long? I'm literally dying. It's been 8 minutes. What are they going to talk about the 8 minutes? Oh, Lord. Jesus. Oh, zip school. All right, I'm back. First and foremost, if you made it this far, you listened this far, you watched this far, you're a real one. Thank you for that. And two, you may be wondering why I'm back after what I said prior to the little like outro video I had. I really keep going back and forth about whether to include this aspect of the podcast because I feel that within academia, this is often part of the hidden curriculum. This is something that's not necessarily taught. It's not necessarily discussed outside of academic spaces, kind of for reasons of the fact that if you make it this far into academia and you want to stay in academia, it's in your best interest not to because it it can make you seem, I can't think of a good adjective right now. I'm at a loss of words, but not like tattletale, but basically, like, I mean, a perfect example is hazing, right? So hazing within sororities and fraternities, there's definitely academic hazing, like within academia, there's definitely hazing. And so I just feel like I experienced some of that. And it is related to the topic of the episode of this podcast. And it just, I've already been saying, I've told you all this already, I've told other people this already. I'm very open. I'm not tied to academia, I'm not tied to academia. And part of it is I'm not good at playing games. I'm not good at, being knocked down pegs and like taking on unnecessary shots. And I love feedback. I'm really receptive to feedback. I feel like throughout this podcast episode, throughout the actual exam, things like that, I just kept saying like, "Oh, I'm so excited for this feedback." Like I just was so anxious and excited to hear their feedback about the paper, la la la, like response to the feedback. Something happened after I finished the exam and everything, and I recorded the episode for y'all, everything like that, was a concern about me being open to like listen to my research partners, and a concern that I have fallen in love with an intended result, and I'm not willing and open to whatever the project brings. I haven't fully told you all this because you all haven't been on this journey with me since the beginning, but my project idea has already went through many iterations. When I first started out, I actually wanted to do um I wanted to study Black language in elementary school reading classrooms. That's what I wanted to do. Anything I presented to y'all about recently was about that? No, because I again I let it go, like just based off like feedback from folks and also the advisor I was working with at the time. I changed my topic, and so then I knew it was going to be something with Black teachers, but I was actually specific to Black women teachers, and I had limited the criteria to Black women teachers. And I got some feedback about that, like another teacher homie asking me like why. I didn't have a good reason, honestly. And then talked to another mentor and another one. And after so many conversations, I was like, you know what? I'll keep it open to whoever, actually, which helped me to build out my intersectionality section more because now I have the intersections of not only Black women, but Black men as well as Black queer teachers. And so that expanded the project. I also initially was looking at co-mentorship. Co-mentorship went to fugitive co-mentorship. And then from feedback about that, I kind of backtracked in a sense to the historic practice of affective kinship, which is where we are today, right? As far as like what my project is. So I've gone through many rounds of feedback, and this is not only from like professors, but also Black teachers, like people who are actively still teaching, people who recently left the classroom, have been out of the classroom a minute, whichever, but like again, I'm engaging with the people who would ultimately be partnering in this work, Black educators. I'm taking their feedback. I'm asking their feedback. This is not like people are coming unsolicited and saying, hey, I want to tell you la 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 about your project. No, like this is solicited advice. These are like I am asking them to to help me with these things, right? Like I am soliciting their feedback. So to get feedback that I don't do those things and I'm not open and I'm too rigid and I have like this desired outcome doesn't make sense to me because throughout the process, I have adjusted and responded to the feedback I've gotten. And I would do the same for my project. Within the project, there's many times where I use the words flexibility, responsive, open, like flexible is in there multiple times, responsive is in there multiple times, listening to the partners. Like I use all those types of terms that were kind of turned around against me, which then makes it feel microaggressive, which then makes it feel like the stereotypes I presented on about Black women teachers are being thrown back at me. Like you're calling me a strong Black woman. I was maybe too prepared, so now it seems like I'm uncooperative and I'm too rigid and I'm too, stuck in my own head or in my own way about something, which is now triggering the angry Black woman in me, which is aggressive, uh, real snarky, snippy, sassy, a lot of things like that. And I feel that my anger is justified, but I also am in the precarious situation of being a PhD student. And so I cannot fully I have to be very intentional on how I channel this anger, basically. So I'm currently channeling it into feedback, or into taking the feedback and making revisions as best I can. I think it's also difficult because I feel like that kind of speaks to my character. Like, what you should not pursue a PhD if you feel like you know everything. I feel like the even just the act of pursuing this journey is an act of curiosity and a love for learning. And so also in that, me consistently within my project saying it's a humanizing praxis, like I want to center the love and joy and experiences in life of Black people in this project. I want to center their voices. I want to uplift their voices, empower their voices. I'm saying all these things like I'll be some kind of weirdo, to use a nicer term, to say all that just to turn around and not listen to Black people and not center Black people and like not. Plus, I was open and honest about the fact that in my undergraduate honors thesis, I did miss the mark because I studied philosophy. And in philosophy, you always have to start with the oldest knowledge about a thing, which is typically white men. And because I started with that, it read as though I'm using these old white men to justify Black scholars and their thoughts and knowledge, which is not okay. And I was so happy and appreciative of that feedback way back then because I've taken that feedback with me ever since, and I would never do that again. I don't repeat mistakes because I take feedback. You follow me? So, I'm processing this. I'm really right now using the podcast as my I'm really, really, really using it as a research journal right now. Like real bad using it as a research journal because this is definitely something I could have kept to myself. And I'm not like naming any like I've not given any strong details about the situation, but just to say it's again, I was already teeter-tottering on academia, and it's just making me teeter more toward K-12, back to K-12, because I know there can be some issues in K-12 spaces as well, but I feel like in K-12, I'm gonna have the ability to really interact and engage with the people who are making decisions about my job and my, ability to do my work more closely than in academia. In academia, if you get on someone's bad side, they have connections from when they were in school, from the last school they were professors at, or like they just can have such a myriad of connections around the nation, around the world, where people who you may never meet have a preconceived notion about you because of some person that you have a problem with. How do you combat that? And I'm already neurodivergent, so I already have issues sometimes with social cues and like people kind of being taken aback or uncomfortable by me. I already deal with that on a daily basis. So I don't know how me personally, with the tools I have and the like divergent neuro I got going on, the spiciness there, for me to combat that. And I shouldn't have to. And I don't want to. Like my peace is so important to me. It's so important to me. And I think after masking and just trying my best to be as typical as possible all throughout K-12 and then a little bit into undergrad as well, I'm tired of that. I don't want to spend my whole life masking for a world that's not going to accept me anyway because I'm still a Black woman at the end of the day. Like, you're still not going to accept me. So why am I going to spend all this time and extra energy to try to beg and plead for acceptance from people who are probably never going to fully accept me? Like, it just feels like I'm spinning my wheels and I'm burning myself out and leading myself to an early grave because of all the extra stress and the emotions of it all. For what? You know what I'm saying? Like, prayerfully, if I can still finish, right? I would still have my letters, whether I'm a professor or not. Like, I didn't even aim to be a professor for like some notoriety or whatever like that. So I can easily let that stuff go. I was about to cuss. I can easily let that go and go back to K-12. I'm going back in the classroom if I have to. Like, I love teaching. I love kids. Like, I don't have a problem with that. You know? So it just that's how I'm feeling, y'all. That's how I'm feeling. I hate to like come backtrack and end the episode on a bad note, if you will, but I just felt I already like I was having You know the crazy thing? I was already having so many issues. Like this video would have already been posted because this is now 2 days after my exam. But I kept having problems with the software and it would not do my captions. It was like it was waiting for this thing to happen. It's like it was waiting for this to happen. Like, girl, don't post that yet. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You got something else coming down the pipe. It's like woo! Nuts, 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 nuts. So that's how I'm feeling. Not the best. Hoping to finish some revisions, get some feedback, and move on from this unfortunate situation. But I hope whenever you're listening to this, y'all are having a good one. I hope you continue to have a good one. And hopefully for the last time, I will say, see you next time. Peace.